Okay, so let's get into it. There's this strange new term that's kind of taking over the tech world, and it's called vibe coding. And its most unlikely accidental champion, the legendary music producer Rick Rubin. So today we're going to break down what this thing actually is, why it's a bigger deal than you think, and how it all connects back to punk rock, professional wrestling, and yeah, the entire future of creativity. So, right off the bat, what in the world is vibe coding? I know, it sounds like a made up meme, something you'd see on Twitter and just scroll past. And honestly, it kind of was at first. But what's happening is that it's tapping into this huge fundamental shift in how we're starting to create things, especially with all the AI tools popping up. And to really understand this, our story has to start with Rick Rubin. See, he's the accidental face of this whole movement. He didn't invent the term, he wasn't trying to lead some new charge. In one of those bizarre turns that can only happen on the internet, the idea of vibe coding pretty much just picked him. And this quote, this is basically his reaction to all of it. He just kind of threw his hands up. One minute he knows absolutely nothing about it, and then boom, a few weeks later, he's the public face of it. It's a perfect example of how internet culture can just, manifest an entire movement out of thin air. I mean, the speed of this is just wild. Look at this. 10 weeks ago, the phrase vibe coding isn't even in his vocabulary. A week later, a photo of him just listening to music, eyes closed, goes viral as the perfect picture of what vibe coding is. And then, the very next week, a software company slaps his face on their 15 rules of vibe coding. He was literally memed into becoming the guru of a movement he had just found out existed. So, how does a meme actually become a powerful idea? Well, to explain what vibe coding really means, Rubin did what he does best. He looked back at his own life and music and pulled out the perfect analogy. And this just nails it. Think about it. The old way of doing things, whether it's music or software, required years of intense, specialized training. You had to go to the conservatory, you had to learn machine code, you needed to be an expert just to get in the door. But then punk rock comes along and just kicks the door down. It says, hey, you got an idea? You know 3 chords? Great, you're in a band. Your passion is enough. And that's the absolute heart of it. Vibe coding is the punk rock of software. Thanks to all these new AI tools, you don't have to be a technical genius anymore to build something amazing. That huge barrier to entry, it's basically collapsed. All you need now is a vision, a feeling, a vibe. Now, naturally, you're probably thinking, okay, so is the AI just doing all the creative work for us now? But according to Rubin, that's completely missing the point. It's the wrong way to look at it. He says we should just think of AI as another tool in the toolbox. It's not the artist, it's the instrument. It's like a guitar. It's like a sampler in hip-hop. It's like a pen. It helps you bring your ideas to life. But the ideas, the taste, the direction, that still has to come from you. And this quote right here is the key to everything. An AI can follow directions, it can spit out variations, it can do what you tell it, but it doesn't have a perspective, it doesn't have a soul. The reason we love our favorite artists is for their unique point of view. That's the human part, and that's what gives a creation its meaning. The AI is just the paintbrush. Okay, so here's where things get a little philosophical. Because vibe coding isn't just about what tools you use, it's about learning to trust your own gut in a world where the facts themselves are, well, kind of shaky. There's this wild concept called the half-life of facts, and the basic idea is that most of the stuff we consider to be objective truth today is eventually going to be proven wrong. It's like knowledge has an expiration date. It decays over time. So if you're only relying on established facts, you might be standing on some pretty unstable ground. To make this point, Rubin uses this amazing analogy. He says professional wrestling is more real than the news. Now why? Because we all know wrestling is staged. It's completely upfront about its own fiction. The news, on the other hand, presents itself as the absolute truth, even when it's often just one version of a story. In a world where facts decay, sometimes the honest fiction can feel more trustworthy. And hey, if you think that's just a fun little thought experiment, get this. Rubin tells this story about a top neurosurgeon who told him that at least half of the information in today's medical textbooks is just wrong. Now think about the damage that causes. When the facts are constantly changing, what can you really rely on? Your vibe? Your intuition? So let's bring it all home. What does this all mean for the future? If anyone and everyone can use these incredibly powerful tools to create, where are we headed?
Well, Rubin sees two very different paths we could go down. And this really lays out the two sides of the coin. On one hand, you have the promise, which is this incredible explosion of creativity. We could see a world with more unique ideas from more unique people than ever before. But then there's the peril, the dark side. We could end up with a global monoculture where everybody's using the same prompts to make slightly different versions of the same thing. Just a boring, algorithmic soup where the individual gets lost.
So how do we avoid that bland, boring future? Well, Rubin says the real work isn't about learning to master the AI, it's about learning to master yourself. Real creativity, the stuff that truly connects with people, doesn't come from chasing trends or asking a machine what's popular. It comes from listening to that quiet voice inside. It comes from tuning in to your own unique vibe.
Which really leaves us with this one last big question. In a world where a machine can write a song or paint a picture or write code, where facts are fleeting and expertise can be automated, maybe the most important skill isn't technical at all. Maybe, just maybe, the most valuable thing you can do is to simply know yourself.